Hello, my name is Maurice Poe, and the project that I will be discussing today is the Hampden County Table Stories. In this presentation, I will discuss a little of who I am, the background behind my community organization, the goals of this project, and what we have achieved in the project thus far. So to start, for background, I'm a junior psychology and English major here at UMass. I'm a local to this area as I was born at Bay State Hospital in Springfield, Mass. But at about the age 6, I would leave the Springfield area as my parents would make a big decision and decide to relocate my family to the neighboring suburb of Longmeadow, Massachusetts. Consequently, this relocation made my family probably one of the only few Black people or Black families to live in the entire Longmeadow district. And due to that fact, for a large period of my life, I believe that I really didn't have a lot of power amongst my predominantly white peers. Yet over time, I would slowly learn that this wasn't true. Over the years, I've learned how my identity essentially symbolizes perseverance, strength. And while here at UMass, I've gotten to participate in really two amazing organizations that are grounded in both those themes regarding empowerment. The first organization being the Springfield Food Policy Council, also known as SFPC. SFPC is essentially an advocacy organization that works to facilitate racially equitable food and social justice by developing a vibrant local food system with urban agriculture at its center. And a primary way of advocating and accomplishing that is through partnership with Gardening the Community, which is a food justice organization engaged in youth development, urban agriculture, and sustainable living to build healthy and equitable communities. And essentially through both these organizations, we've developed this project that seeks to empower and strengthen our youth participants. But a big question that you might be asking yourself is just why? And as I mentioned before, being a person of color, it can elicit certain opinions about yourself. As I mentioned, I grew up with this assumption that Blackness only symbolized bad things, primarily criminalization and slavery. And when you understand yourself in that way, it begins to essentially weigh heavy on you to this point that you can get very helpless and powerless. So over time, as currently a psychology major, I couldn't help but associate this phenomenon with social psych theory by Martin Seligman called learned helplessness. And to put it simply, learned helplessness is a concept in which people may come to believe that they are unable to change a situation to a point in which they give up. And a main way or a big example that this is seen is actually in elephant training. So specifically, when elephants are babies, their legs will get tied to a rope so they won't be able to escape. And consequently, while tied down for hours and sometimes even days, the baby elephants will struggle and struggle in attempts to break free until eventually the baby elephant will learn that the situation is hopeless and it will just give up. Yet this belief isn't just a temporary thing, because as the elephants grow up and become much larger, when tied down to a pole again, the elephants will still demonstrate this belief that the situation is hopeless and not even try to escape, when clearly they are easily big enough to break free from the rope, as you can see in the picture. So what this theory suggests is that essentially creatures roughly 13 times more powerful than humans can repeatedly be convinced into believing that they're powerless and oblivious to their significant strength. So when thinking about that idea, I couldn't help but frame myself within the realm of the elephant in the story. I grew up believing that my skin tone made me powerless, and when put into context, in the context of organizing, I think it best can be described in what Loretta Piles would define as a mindset of a power over dynamic. Essentially, I believed that elite actors enforced their power to affect the actions and thoughts of Black and brown people who are perceived as relatively powerless, air quotes. Like elephants, society seemed to be teaching us to be oblivious of our own strength. And consequently, I think the good news that I learned over time is that there are other means of interpreting power. And in contrast to the power over model, Pyle suggests that there's other dynamics to view power. One being this dynamic called power two, which is the ability of the so-called powerless to act on their own behalf by exercising their rights. Another is this idea of power within, which is power that exists outside of social constructs, i.e. one's confidence that sources resilience and preconditioned action. And three, this idea of power with, which is the synergistic power that emerges from collaboration, alliance building, and solidarity with others. So essentially, when it comes to power, it seems as if there's this preconditioned notion that we view it in a way in which power is used as something to rule over someone else. But over time, what I've learned is that it is time and very necessary to encourage and uplift the quote unquote elephants with ideas like power to, power within, and power with. People will tell us that we have no autonomy, but in reality, we as individuals are strong beyond measure. And from the words of Maureen Williamson, I think our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We are all meant to shine as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, but it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others, end quote. Therefore, when we empower and encourage others to realize their own strength, together we become that much closer to creating a more good and just society. So that's basically what we're trying to do through the Hampden County Table Stories. While working alongside SFPC Director and GTC Director Liz Ogilvie and UMass Professor and Fertile Ground member Terrell James, I essentially am assisting youth in realizing their strengths in community engagement and community building. By using a practice called photo voice, the students will participate and develop skills in advocacy, community development, and leadership, in which they will capture intergenerational cross-cultural stories of health inequities in the food system and built environment. Thus, this project seeks to empower and uplift participating youth with autonomy to be change agents, reminding the youth that they have the power. And there are many ways in which we're doing this. One method that we're using is workshops designated on what I've been talking about, which is power mapping. We teach youth to understand that power within themselves and remind them that they have the skills to make positive impact in the world. Likewise, another way that we are doing this is by showing other projects that have used the photo voice model. For example, the Palante projects in Holyoke, or the Here Are Stories project, which was conducted here in Western Mass as well. In addition, like through these workshops, we've been able to discuss and teach the participating youth practical skills in aspects to research, like determining methods, collecting data. And for the sake of the study, we have already currently developed many research questions that the youth have been passionate about. One being the accessibility of healthy food within Springfield, and another being the curiosity about local awareness of both SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance, and HIP, Healthy Incentives Benefits within Springfield as well. However, due to the winter season and the terrible weather, the youth still have yet to go out and actually collect data and determine the answers to those questions. So in regards to outcomes and next steps, more data is definitely to come as the weather gets warmer. The youth are, what I perceive, pretty passionate and motivated and driven to do this project so far. So I personally think that the project is going great. And eventually, we intend to have the youth discuss their findings with potential local legislature or other people who would be interested in just talking to the youth and hearing their opinions on what is going on so far. So overall, that's what the project has been about so far. A lot more is to come in the coming weeks, but regardless, for now, I thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, please email me at info@umass.edu. I'd love to send you updates or even answer questions about the project. So anyway, I thank you and hope you have a great day.